The great mathematician, physicist, a lot of things, Blaise Pascal once said, the root of one's problems, all their problems, stems from the inability to sit with one's thoughts for an extended period of time. And I just want to first and foremost apologize for being MIA for a while. I kind of got sick. And the reason I opened up this episode with that quote is because, when you're sick, you are stuck in one place trying to recover as best as you can. And there's a lot of time to kill. For me, it was a lot of thinking and a lot of Zelda, to be quite honest. But anyways, that aside, there was a lot of thinking. And when you're sick, you're forced to be stuck with your own thoughts. And especially even before phones and smartphones and all these smart devices have come to fruition, we are, we were stuck with our thoughts for a long period of time. And the only way to cope with it was through just playing outside and just doing whatever we can to fill up our time. Now, the last episode that we covered, or the last episode we talked about, I ran into my middle school teacher and it reignited a lot of anxiety. Not modern day anxiety. Well, yes, but it reignited the anxiety that I had when I was 13 years old when she was still my teacher, which was over a decade ago. And it made me really think. When I got sick, it really made me think about the interaction that I had with this teacher once again in my life, because I really did not think about her re-entering it in any sort of way, even if it was a small cameo in this chapter of my life. But it really made me think about the past and how it holds a firmer grasp on you now than we give it credit for. Meaning that, a lot of who we are, a lot of how we formed, our personality, our humor, whatever so be it, who you are now as a person is actively shaped by what you experienced when you were younger. This is, of course, not groundbreaking idea or anything, because psychiatrists like to dive into the inner workings of the problems in which are arising in your adulthood and teenhood by reflecting back in the past of the root of those issues. Now, again, just kind of reclarifying, I had a lot of time to think, and it really made me and forced me to be with my thoughts, and my thoughts kept leading me down this path of the past. These memories that I just truly forgot, right? When I was talking about my experience in middle school, I didn't really think about those things, and I only remembered it right when I saw my middle school teacher's face, and it was just far from gratifying, although there were moments. And my question that I want to dedicate to you today is not, is your past holding you back, but asking yourself, how much of an influence does your past have on you now as a person, as a working, hustle and bustle person working in the corporate world, or in your job, or even if you're still a student and you're going through the workings of high school, or whoever you are. How much has your past influenced you to become who you are today? And the thing is, right at this given moment, you're at your youngest, right? Like, you are youngest at this very moment. You're getting older with every second that passes. And we are actively living this life, and we are collecting these memories. But, with this culture that we have of hustling and keeping on moving forward as much as we can at X amount of speed, usually a very, very high speed, we don't really take the time to reflect on the past and how much it's impacted us. And that doesn't necessarily have to be in a bad way. If you remember from the last episode, if you did listen to the last episode with my encounter with my teacher, I ended it with a sense of gratification, or a sense of acceptance and gratefulness, actually. I was very grateful that she put me through all the hoops that I didn't really deserve at the time, to be quite honest, for being myself. I was grateful that she allowed me to discover more about myself, and to actually, at the end of the day, be more accepting of who I was, and understanding the universal lesson of not everyone is going to like you. Like, again, I can't think of a reason of why she made my time in middle school very difficult. Even when she talked to my parents were also wondering why she just seemed like she was going out of her way to just really, I don't know, challenge me in just a very unwelcoming way. But I'm really grateful to have experienced that. And I think that moment when I saw my middle school teacher again for another time in this life, just a few weeks ago, it reignited this this hole that I had, and I'm diving deep into this hole. That's what she said, of the past, and thinking about how much it's taking a hold on me. And I think that personally, who I am now, and what I do, the past has such a firmer grasp than I thought it did. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm really thankful for all the things I've gone through and continue to go through. And being at home, taking care of my sickly mother, and just being stuck here thinking about my values and all this stuff, I'm really grateful for all the things that are happening. Although they are disguised as obstacles, they are disguised as things that are supposed to instill fear in you. They're things that you have to go through to develop into the person you are, and to develop you into the person that you are going to become. And that person is going to be way better than who you are now, ideally, in an ideal world. Now, again, the question is, how much does the past play a role in who you are today? And hopefully the answer is it's not holding you back in any sort of way, and that you're seeking therapy where you need to, because it's really helpful. I still have yet to go to therapy, to be quite honest, but I think I need it. But these lessons that you're learning through life, whether you're a student studying your butt off for these things, you are working in your job, just trying to make a living, a paycheck to paycheck, whatever it so be it, or even just human being just trying to live. We are learning these lessons. We are acquiring these moments in which shape us into who we are. And the past, although it may seem instantaneous, that it's just like a single frozen moment in time, the effects of the past actually are more long-term than we think. That maybe the anxieties or the insecurities that you have stem from a moment in time in the past, from what someone said or something that happened to you. I know a lot of my insecurities, a lot of the things that I have to kind of fight with inside of me are from my childhood, are from what I had to go through, or, something that someone said. And even when you're growing up, even if you're in college and stuff, there are still things that are hurtful and that have impacted you. But on the flip side, there are moments in the past, and there are very quick moments, like we said, instantaneous moments that may have changed you for the better. Maybe it was something like a very standard thing that someone said to you that really you needed at the time. Or maybe that it was a moment in time in which you became extremely grateful because it just happened out of nowhere. I know that I got involved in the marching band because I loved music. When I went into college, it was the very first thing that I wanted to do. And I was very surprised that I got in, to be quite honest, because I was coming from orchestra, which is really weird, transitioning from orchestra to marching band, because I had no idea what marching was. I didn't know how to do it. But then I discovered that didn't really suit my personality at the time anymore. Although I loved music, it just felt like it was too circumventing, that it was taking over my life, and it wasn't just very enjoyable anymore. And I found, the cultural club, the Filipino club that I was a part of, and what really adhered me to this club, and just using this as an example of like the positive effects of the past, is that I was a nobody. I just entered it in the middle of the year. No one knew who I was. They had no idea, like, who the heck is this random guy, especially because it was in the middle, actually near the end of most of the projects that they planned for the year. This was at the end of my first year, and I just entered it out of nowhere. And I remember specifically there was one event, there was a practice or rehearsal for the show that they were putting on that I attended because I just joined one of the dances last minute. And I remember just like, I'm just being me and just like a nobody, right? I'm just no one. And next thing you know, this rehearsal, mind you, fell on my birthday. And we got circled up as we normally do. And then all of a sudden they pull out a poster with everyone's signature on it. And some of them had a really, really nice message. And it was from the organization. It was from the people that were not just within the dance, but also within that Filipino club. And they signed it to me. They said happy birthday, and they had just wonderful messages. And I only knew these people, mind you, for like 2 to 3 weeks. And that poster, or at least just the act of receiving a poster as a nobody in an organization with an ocean of people, just pushed me into a state of gratefulness that really promoted me and encouraged me to stay there for the remainder of my college years, basically. And that sense of gratitude, that sense of just being not recognized, because I didn't want to be recognized. I like being a nobody. But knowing that people cared enough for me that they went out of their way to make a poster and sign it even changed my life till this day, just because of a poster. And I still talk about this with my friends who did sign the poster at the time, and some of them didn't, who are my friends now. And I just cannot be even more thankful for that time, that just little moment in time that changed my life forever, that shifted my entire life into the proper direction of positive energy and what true gratefulness is, for being a nobody and just being appreciated, I think, because being an only child, it's really hard. I know you're like, oh, you're an only child, so you receive all the love, but when you have two working parents, it's way more difficult than it sounds, being an only child, and you don't really get everything you want, depending on your circumstance. And although my parents love me and my family loved me, they did the best they can, and it was enough. Like, it wasn't material things I wanted. I just wanted not recognition. I just wanted love, and they gave it to me, and that was more than I could ever ask for. And I think that moment in college where I was a nobody and I was still appreciated really helped me think back in the past about how much my parents, although they were working so hard, both of them, and my family, and they were working so hard, took the time out of their day to support me as an only child, and just not making me feel lonely, right? And that's just a recurring feeling I have every single day. And as you're working, whatever you're doing now, being a student and studying, and you're working, it can get lonely. That process is lonely, and they don't tell you that when you go into school. They don't tell you that when you go into work. It can get lonely, although there may be a lot of clubs, a lot of organizations. It can be extremely overwhelming, and it can feel lonely at times. And when you go to class, it's totally up to you for a good grade. It's totally up to you how you perform on a test. It's not up to anyone else. And although you can have study groups and stuff, you have to be alone to take that test at the end of the day. But what really propels you into a sense of gratefulness is reflecting on the positive moments of the past and how they have affected you. I know I started this episode with kind of a negative reflection, about my middle school teacher and how she's impacted me in a negative way and stuff. But you can even convert those into a sense of gratefulness that you went through that, and that you're here now, that you made it through. You actually made it through to the end, and not the end, actually, you're still going, right? But you made it through that situation. Even the negative things in your past can be converted, depending on how you frame it, into a positive light. A lot of things happened to me in my childhood that are still affecting me to this day, that actually make worse my anxieties and make worse my insecurities. When I reflect on them, it's just like a wave of heat. It just washes over my body when I think of them. And when I do breathe and think about it, I think about that I survived it, that I made it. I'm grateful for that experience, because I'm stronger than if I didn't go through those experiences. And it's the same for you. So when you ask yourself, how much does the past influence you today? Think about the positive things, right? Before you dive into the negative, because you don't want to dive straight into the deep end. It's like jumping into a pool and going into the 12 feet end, and diving into it and not even knowing how to swim yet. Stick to the 3 foot, area first, and then kind of work your way to the 12 feet. And so think about how much it's influencing you now, and how you can use those as tools to become the person that you want to become in the near future. Because the past is something that we can never escape. It's always going to be attached to us like a shadow when the sun is out. We can see our shadow all the time. Your past is always going to be a part of you, and it's nothing that you can ever change. But that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a bad thing. It's up to you to decide what your past means to you and how much of a role it plays now. And yes, there may be some things like your insecurities or maybe your anxieties that your past has given you that you can't control anymore. But you can control I don't want to say control the control, but you can control the grasp that the past has on you. And if it's a negative grasp, you can take the time to really evaluate what matters. And what matters is that you're living, you're breathing, you're working as hard as you can, and you're doing all that you can to find peace and serenity and especially happiness in what you do in life, no matter what. And that's what's important, because your past may define you, but it's only up to you to refine yourself. Or it might be better said, although the past may define you, only you can refine you. Is that more catchy? I'm not really sure. I really hope this episode was helpful. Sorry to end it in a very weird note because I can't even think of a proper quote. Again, like these are more off the cuff episodes. Actually, all the episodes are off the cuff. I just only write like a couple words down on a sticky note and try to go from there and just kind of revolve a speech around that. But I hope it wasn't too lectury. I'm really glad that you're here. If you haven't checked out the other episodes, please do. I do have an Instagram for this podcast, Sarcastically Optimistic. And just a little announcement is that I'm actually starting a YouTube channel that is not tied to Sarcastically Optimistic. Although, if you do enjoy the topics that are in this podcast, then my YouTube channel is actually going to revolve around that, which is mostly self-development, asking yourself questions that you may not ask yourself on a day-to-day, and just ideally, I want to make videos that would make you think about life in a more positive light, because I think we all need it. We all need to be affirmed, not to the point of entitlement, but we also need to be affirmed to the point of knowing that we can do it, and just, people that tell us that we have the confidence, we have the happiness inside ourselves. We just need to know how to unlock it in the ways that we can in the proper time. So I'm really glad that you're here. Welcome to the Sarcastically Optimistic podcast. Do like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you did enjoy this episode, do check out the other episodes. Although the quality may not be as good as now, I promised in the very beginning that the quality would improve. But hopefully that doesn't just mean the quality of the video or the audio, but also for the topics that you're listening to. I'm really glad that you're here. You're doing the best that you can, and that is enough, right? Don't let the bad parts of your past be negative and serve as a negative thing in your life. Try to reframe it in a way that you can be using it as a tool to be more productive, to be a better person, and to have a kinder heart and to have more love than you ever thought you ever could. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you in the next one. Goodbye.